What's up, y'all? TBrown31 here with JaboctheGreat. Welcome back to the last word, and let's just get straight into it. Last night, Thursday Night Football, we actually had a really good game, another all-timer between the Bengals and the Ravens. This one ended, kind of similar here again, 35-34. Ravens on top. Bengals had an opportunity to take the lead with a two-point conversion at the end. A lot of controversy with the call, a lot of controversy with the lack of penalties thrown. So no matter what, Bengals right now they're 4-6, and the Ravens are in the catbird seat 7-3.
Yeah, a lot of stuff goes wrong for the Bengals at the end of this game. There's definitely some things they get robbed on. There's definitely a lot of stuff that goes on throughout this game. Contact on Lamar that also gets kind of missed. So it's a tough one for it to be on the last play and to be so blatant to not happen. We'll get to that for sure. But this is a tough one. Bengals are going to be in a really bad spot here as they fall to 4-6, and as their two division leaders keep kind of rolling, especially when they roll over them. So yeah, Baltimore. Let's look at it on paper. Lamar Jackson has an incredible game through the air. 25 for 33, 290 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 33 rushing yards to back it up. He was second on the team. Derrick Henry was first, 68 yards and a touchdown. Led the team in rushing. Not the most amazing Derrick Henry game, but, I mean, it's not a bad game by any means. Tylan Wallace, who is a name you might not know that well, got his superpowers once again wearing the all-purple uniform. He had a punt return touchdown the last time the Bengals wore these. In this game, he gets 115 yards and grabs himself a touchdown. That touchdown would be an 84-yard touchdown that answered a super long Jamar Chase touchdown and kind of set this game on a different pace than the first half had. It's Tylan Wallace's first 100-yard game, so great night for him. Good to see him doing well. Incredible performance to get his team over the edge here. Mark Andrews had 68 yards. Rashad Bateman had 54 yards. They both got themselves a touchdown. And Nelson Aguilar also had himself a touchdown on 6 yards. Roquan Smith recovered a Chase Brown fumble. And then that's the end of the positives for the Ravens. Not a whole lot negative goes on except for the first half for them. But Justin Tucker also missed an extra point. So this game ends up being 35-34 because the Ravens do secure a two-point conversion. But at a certain point, when they finally stormed back and looked like they had it in the bag to tie it up, they actually were down 20-21 because Justin Tucker missed that extra point. So really not something I thought I would say ever. But Tucker is slowly losing it here. For the Bengals, who I've noted on our stat sheet here is the poor unfortunate souls. These guys are 4-6. We've had some harsh things to say, but man, they should probably be like 6-4, 7-3 as well. That's been a tough season for them. Two wins against the Ravens have slipped out of their hands, and let's see how it looked out. Joe Burrow, who I've noted is the world's unluckiest man, 34 for 56, 428 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Phenomenal game for him. Him and Lamar definitely have a duel here. Joe Burrow gets them on the yards by a lot, but I mean similar, 4 touchdown games, no picks, just slinging it out there and scoring touchdowns. This is a battle. Thursday Night Football has had a lot of duds, but there's been a few. Falcons Bucks. This one has been good. We should get a good one next week, I think, with the Commanders. So this has been great. Chase Brown was the whole rushing game. He had 42 yards and he had a touchdown. He did have the fumble, but he was pretty good there. He also had 52 yards in the air, so pretty good there as a whole for Chase Brown. And I would know that personally because I played against him in fantasy. So that's a little tough. Speaking of tough, people who face Jamar Chase in fantasy are going to be feeling a little worse than people who face Chase Brown. Somehow, by coincidence, we have both those people in this call. Terrence faced Jamar Chase. Everyone say a little word for him. Not a great way to start the week. Actually faced Chase and Burrow, so really, really tough. But Jamar Chase gets 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, which include a 70-yard touchdown and a 67-yard touchdown. The 67 was the first big one. That would be the one that Tylan Wallace answered, and then the Ravens missed the point. And then you had a 6-yard touchdown at the end of the game, right before they tried for that 2-point conversion. As I said, Chase Brown had 52 yards. Tanner Hudson was third in the air with 42 yards, and he had himself a touchdown. Joe Burrow fumbled a few times, didn't really go anywhere. Chase was the only person to lose a fumble. And yeah, this was just kind of a classic Bengals game for this season. They have a shootout the whole time. It's back and forth. Actually, they don't really have a shootout the whole time. Starts out pretty slow in the first half. For a while, it's 7-7. These two teams definitely setting a different culture when we think about the defenses for them. And then right before the end of the half, the Bengals actually get it in and make it 14-7. And then boom, Ravens come in, go 3 and out, and they get that big 67-yard touchdown. That makes it 21-7. And then the shootout happens. So You get a lot crazier there. The Bengals will end up fumbling. That Chase Brown fumble is going to be massive. You get the Derrick Henry punch in touchdown to capitalize on that. Bengals punt. Then you get the big massive Tyler Wallace touchdown. That's when it's 2021, and then from there the Bengals start to stall out a little bit, turn it over on downs, which is really tough. Ravens score again, Bengals score again, Ravens score again, Bengals score again, but cannot convert the 2-point conversion, and that is it. 35-34. Ravens kneel it out at the end of the game. This was an amazing game. I would say it qualifies as a shootout if you ignore the first half. First half was good football, but second half these guys came out with something else in them. Started throwing 80-yard touchdowns back left and right. So really fun game. Really big for the Ravens to improve here and get to 7-3. Really bad for the Bengals to fall down here again, as they actually were starting to put a little run on and make that 1-4, 1-5 start not so bad.
Yeah, and at this point, these teams still have to play the Steelers because somehow the Steelers, they haven't played either of these guys yet. But the Ravens and Bengals have played twice, so that's going to be an issue there. What's kind of funny in all of this is because the Bengals lost, we're going to talk about how bad that pass defense was in the second half for Cincinnati. But metrics say that the Ravens pass defense is actually the worst in the league right now. Obviously, that's probably kind of skewed because of last night, but even with the average, of course, they're averaging 294 yards given up through the air per game. I mean, that is like insane. The next closest team is the Jaguars, and they're buns right now. They're not having a good time, obviously, and they're at 264 a game. So, yeah, it's rough for the Ravens, and Kyle Hamilton going out in that one last night, like that obviously has a lot to do with that. But look, for me, it's not just about the 2-point conversion that they didn't get. It's about some of these other plays that they had. A couple of the other gambles because they went for it on fourth down multiple times. That first drive, really good drive going down the field. The Ravens were stupid. They burned 2 timeouts on one single drive to start on defense, which is I don't understand why Harbaugh challenged that play. I can't remember who it was. I don't remember if it was Gesicki. It was one of the tight ends, and so it was Gesicki, and it was like, why even bother challenging that? Like, it's not going to be that much of a difference, like Michaels was saying on the broadcast. So I didn't agree with that. And when they were going down the field again, it was like, okay, you're going to let Cincinnati kind of run away with this game because Ravens did absolutely nothing their first drive. But they get down to 3rd and 3, around the 40, so you're kind of in no man's land, if you don't get it here. It's too far for really a field goal. But, punting here, it's like, eh. So I understand the play, but, like, they let it run down. They're not really set. They don't really know what they're doing. Joe Burrow just heaves it up. So they're obviously going for it. And kind of the same thing. Lets it get down. Don't really know what they're doing. They're not really set. Heaves it up. All right, so that's mistake number 1, in my opinion. Number 2, which is really what kind of set things off, because their first drive was really not a drive in the second half. They had that one play touchdown to Jamar Chase, that first one for 67. And then you get a good stop on defense. You're up 21-7. And look, if you get another touchdown here, or at least even a field goal, like it's going to make it pretty hard. Now you're halfway through the third. Pretty hard for the Ravens to be able to come back. Instead, you mentioned it, Chase Brown, he fumbles. Gives momentum to the Ravens as they head down to score. You don't do anything the next drive, and they head down and score again. And just like that, it's 2021 with Justin Tucker missing extra points. So that's mistake number 2. Mistake number 3, once again, go for it on fourth down. You don't get anything. 2 straight incomplete passes to Chase and then Burton on a 34-yard line. So, that was a spot where from the 34, maybe you could have kicked the field goal there. But maybe with the flow of the game, they're like, look, they just scored 2 touchdowns on us. We want to go down and get a touchdown ourselves. Mistake number 3, and maybe that was kind of the issue on that last drive with the 2-point conversion. Because in between that, drive and that last touchdown drive, the Ravens scored twice in between that. So it's like, your pass defense at that point, I mean, it was basically non-existent. They were going down the field And then that last drive, like really at some point they should have just let them score, so they could have even more time, to be honest, because they're really just dragging it out. Um, Finally got that touchdown to Rashad Bateman with about a minute 49. So at least they did have a good bit of time. And that last drive didn't start out well, but get down, get a touchdown. Had some penalties kind of help out there, obviously. I hate that roughing the passer. It's always garbage. The driving the quarterback down. Like, I never understand that. Like, you're completing a hit. I don't know what you want. You want them to literally hug the guy, stop in midair. Like, I don't know. But I never liked the call, but had some other penalties there. Get that 2-point conversion. After thinking on it, and in the moment, I was kind of like, that was stupid. But thinking on it, who's to say that they, the Ravens with 30, 40 seconds wouldn't go down and score at least a field goal there, which is all they would have needed to win. So I understand it. And I do hate the fact that the refs missed 2 calls on one play there that they should have had. So look, like I said, it didn't come down to just that play. There are multiple things in this game for the Bengals that screwed them here. And I'm not going to absolve the Ravens for one, how they played in the first half, because they weren't really good in the first half at all. I mean, it looked like it was over early third, like I said. And that pass defense, and I understand Kyle Hamilton was out, but that pass defense is awful. And if they didn't have Lamar, Derrick Henry, Wallace bailing them out, they would be a lot worse than they are right now. So and they got too many good guys over there on that defense for that defense to be playing the way they are. So unfortunately, even with all those big plays by the Bengals offense, it doesn't matter. And right now they're sitting at 4-6 and in a pretty tough position.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important here to emphasize that the Ravens look like one of the best teams in the NFL. Their offense has the Avengers on it. They're going crazy. They just picked up Deontay Johnson for a bag of chips. He did not do anything this week. Did not look very good, but we'll see what he does
Yeah,
when he has a
barely
little more
played.
time. Yeah, we'll see what he does with more time in the system and more time on the field. But that defense is terrible, and it has been the story of their season all season. They have allowed the second most points allowed in the AFC North, only behind the Bengals. They've been cut up every week. I'm pretty sure the only week that or really 2 weeks, they don't get super cut up is against the Bills, which is a surprise, and against the Broncos, who we said could have been a wishy-washy game. They put that one to bed. But Baker Mayfield has a field day. Jaden Daniels has a field day. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have had field days both times. The Cowboys in Week 3 had a field day. The Raiders and Chiefs had great times. They've obviously got wins on them. The Browns beat them up. This defense has been tough, and we'll see a big test next week when the Ravens play the Steelers finally for the first time. We'll see where that goes, as that Steelers defense is definitely going to be one of the toughest that they'll face. Same thing for the Steelers. This will be one of the harder offenses they'll go up against. But this is going to be a problem come playoff time. If the Ravens can't really get it together as the season goes on, you get to the to the playoffs and you end up matched up against, I don't know, say the Chiefs. Chiefs got the devil magic on their side, and if you can't stop a pass, then that's probably it. So really not an ideal scenario. Right now, the Ravens sit at 5th in the playoff bracket. Got plenty of people around that can shift if they steal it from the Steelers and get up. They would be, up to maybe probably up to 2. I believe they'd be over the Bills if they had the division. But there's some tough people in the AFC. I mean, right now you got the whole AFC West in the playoff picture. Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs. 2 of those teams probably don't pose too much of a threat. Texans probably not that scary, but a matchup in playoff intensity against the Chiefs or Bills, or if you make it to the Super Bowl against Lions, Commanders, Eagles, Vikings, these guys who've been at the top of the season. Commanders to the Super Bowl might be a bold prediction, but these guys could be a little tough. So obviously you beat some of these guys, but the Ravens gotta tighten it up. That defense cannot allow 300 yards per game. Allowing more yards per game than the Jaguars defense is insane. So I do want to give props to the Ravens for fighting back. This game started out, as you said, it looked like it was over closely after the half was over. Seemed like they were going to go home with a little bit more of an even division. So you have to give credit to the Ravens for finding their spark with that Wallace touchdown and kind of getting everything going. Getting that big 20-yard touchdown to Mark Andrews, also pretty big there. everything that goes in the second half of the Ravens is almost as perfect as you can want it, except for they get cut to pieces by the Bengals offense. So Bengals offense is great. Maybe it's you could try to make the argument that it's an outlier, but they face this type of pressure and this type of fight from pretty much every team they've faced. So I think it's something that they've really got to nail down here before they move into the playoffs. They look like a Super Bowl contender, but that defense is the biggest threat to them losing a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and just to finish, if you're going to go up against presumably the Chiefs in maybe a divisional round or AFC Championship game, that Chiefs defense is obviously the strength of that team this year. And even with the Chiefs offense not being as good as it is, I'm pretty sure that if you put playoffs Mahomes and playoff Travis Kelce with Andy Reid out there calling those plays, I'm sure that he'll be able to scheme up something to take advantage of that defense and that secondary. So that's something they got to work on, like you said.